This is your tech news briefing for Monday, October 31st. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Both virtual and augmented reality are elements of the metaverse, but some people think AR is the bigger business opportunity. One company that entered the AR space pretty early on is Microsoft. It unveiled its HoloLens headset in 2015 and put it on sale the next year. The device sits on a user's head like a crown, and a screen over their eyes overlays digital images onto their view of the real world. But in its efforts to make HoloLens a profitable product, Microsoft has run up against a number of stumbling blocks. Joining us to discuss what those are and what it means for Microsoft's prospects in the metaverse is our tech reporter, Aaron Tilley. Hi, Aaron. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Aaron, can you just start by explaining what HoloLens was originally built for?
So it started out as this idea around the future of gaming consoles. And it morphed as the kind of company shifted and was placed under the Windows division. So it kind of became both a idea around productivity as well as gaming. It was anything developers could dream of it as. So they brought it out for developers. And over time, consumer adoption, they realized was not going to happen. It was way too expensive. And so they kind of shifted towards the enterprise, selling to companies and how workers can use these devices.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the situation now then. Who is buying HoloLens?
There are quite a number of large corporations using them. For example, Mercedes-Benz at U.S. service centers. There are technicians wearing them to help repair the cars of their customers. I talked to them. It's considerably helped them. It's helped them speed up repair times. And then their single biggest customer here is the military. The U.S. military has this ambitious plan to put these smart goggles on soldiers' face so they can be more effective on the battleground and assist with training scenarios. And Microsoft won this contract that could be worth nearly $22 billion over the next 10 years.
All right, so how are things going with that military contract?
There's been a lot of back and forth in terms of usability for soldiers. I spoke with the employees that worked on the project that said that it was very difficult for the soldiers to use this device. It was very heavy on their head. It created a lot of eye strain. They could only wear it for short periods of time when they're supposed to be wearing it for hours, 12, 20 hours out in the field, and it just is not a practical device in situations that are quite life and death.
So there are some challenges to using it. What are things like internally within the HoloLens unit?
Despite some, large corporate customers, it's very small volumes, very low volumes. Around 300,000 have been sold since it came out in 2016. So in terms of a business for a company the size of Microsoft, this is minuscule. So it's really been a challenge for them to figure out the use cases and potentially tap into big markets. And also just advancing the technology is very challenging. Each generation, maybe you'll get a wider sort of field of view that you can see this augmented reality stuff, but it is not a graceful sort of consumer device. It's not getting there seemingly anytime soon. And it's just a huge cost for the company without a ton of return.
I mean, given those struggles, what is it like for the people who work in the unit?
Employees feel quite frustrated for a number of reasons. I've spoken to many employees, current, former, over the past year. And there's been a lot of feeling of lack of direction, being overworked. Management at times has been troubling. And this is a company that was very early on in this trend, and they have had a considerable amount of talent that has left for places like Apple and Meta trying to do their own smart goggles.
What has Microsoft said about all of this?
Microsoft, they've said a lot. Externally, you can kind of see them shift towards this idea that their approach to what everyone is calling the metaverse is software defined. It is software based rather than a hardware based approach, which is their HoloLens product. So they've certainly externally backed away. As far as what they've told me, they say they certainly have not said that they're dropping out of hardware or HoloLens, just that their approach to the metaverse that they call more broadly is a variety of approaches. They have hardware, they have software, they have gaming, which touches on metaverse as well. So they say they're committed to it and certainly not backing away.
So where does Microsoft go with the HoloLens now?
Well, they still have enterprise customers they're serving here. They still have this U.S. military contract, but there was a much more ambitious plan to address the consumer, to try to create this mass market product. And the company, it needs to focus in this time. Everybody's preparing for a recession, so they cut away a lot of that ambition over the past year. I think it gets to the question of priorities. The company is very focused on its cloud business. How much are they going to prioritize a still very speculative market? And one thing about Microsoft in its history is that they've always been pretty good at seeing where technology is going with new types of hardware, but they never managed to execute on that as well as a company like Apple. So I think speaking with many folks kind of reflected that reality that this is just not in their DNA.
Are there lessons then that other companies that are making a push into the metaverse should be taking away from Microsoft's experience?
For this to work, there needs to be a broad market. There needs to be a mass market. And how are customers going to be motivated to put a headset on? That is a huge lift. It has to be so good. It has to be better than the iPhone, better than a smartphone. And so far, no one's cracked it.
All right, that was our reporter, Aaron Tilley. Aaron, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And that's it for today's Tech News Briefing. If you want more tech stories, check out our website, WSJ.com. I'm Zoe Thomas for The Wall Street Journal. Thanks for listening.